on. What's up, Illumineers? Executive Barber coming back at you with another deck profile executively. Today, we were able to win a box. Pretty cool. But let's get into the good stuff. So today I played Green Steel. I believe that this is probably the highest tier deck in the format. I think second to this is Red Blue, and Steel Song any good player can sneak in there. That deck will never be bad. I've tested this deck extensively since it dropped on Pixelborn. My boy Brandon over here, he's been watching me play. The team's been watching me play. So we figured out the deck pretty good. There was one card that's missing that I'll go over, and I want to shout out Dylan personally. My boy Dylan, he's one of the best players I know, Ohio player. But he told me to play this one card, and I'll go over it. So, first card of the deck, shout out my boy Dylan. Hidden Cove. I've never seen anybody play this on Pixelborn, and you guys are sleeping on this card. It is one of the best cards that you can play turn one. It's a 6 shield, and it has a 1 cost to move. The card itself just gives all of your characters that are at this location +1/+1. This matters so much in every single match, except maybe your ramp popsicle decks. But even then, putting your characters at a bigger, rate, even later game, can help in certain situations. So we play 3 of this. It's a really good card. I'm super happy I went and played it. I will not cut it out of 3. I think the card needs to stay in the deck at that. So going into our other 1-drop lines, you got to play the Diablo. I had this at 4, but I think 3 is fine. Moving Diablo to the location makes him a 2/3, which is really good stat line for a 1-drop. You can play this card and look at your opponent's hand so you know exactly what they're going to try to do. And nothing more to say. He's a shift target for the 3-drop. I was a little tossed on this card at first, but today I really liked it. I might try to up this to another 3/3 count in the deck with the other shift, but this card is actually just really solid. It gives you a curve to where you don't just have to depend on Robin Hood, and you have an alternate turn 3 shift. It having evasive alone is good enough to be the best green 1-drop in my opinion. I mean, this guy told me it was the best green 1-drop, and I have to say, like, for Pascal, or what was it, Pascal for the purple one, it's basically him, just better. So 2 of those. Obviously, we have to play the 4 Robin Hood. This deck is really, really good if you can get this board 1, move him turn 2, and shift into a turn 3. Making the big Robin Hood a 4/7. So that is Ursula's new card stats. So if that doesn't tell you that that's probably one of the best turn 3 plays in the game, I don't know what is. Shift target for the Robin Hood, 2/2 otherwise, but Cove makes everything better in this deck. I was running 4 of these, but I cut it down to 3, I'm sorry. Ursula is a good card situationally. A lot of people that are good players are going to ink their songs against you, because if you have Double out and they're going to do songs, most time they're probably going to draw. But she's more so used just to take like your opponent's like spells that's going to remove a card basically. So if they have Be Prepared, if they have Zeus, if they have Storm Rage on, if they have any Whole New World, any of these cards can reset the game, and her just being able to take that play away so they have to draw another one is really strong. And I'm only playing it like in certain matches when I know it's right. Like against against any of the ramp decks, you can play it turn 2 if you go first and take their 1 jump. Against the purple decks, if you get a Diablo out, turn 2 with this, you grab their target if you don't have Bucky. She's pretty good situationally. Again, though, can't shout this card off enough. 2/4 stat line when she's there. That is a good stat line. I was overly impressed with how good this card performed with everything. So we'll go into our next 2-drop, which is actually the sudden chill spell. You have to run 4 of these. Your entire goal of the game is to try to get your opponent to discard their entire hand. If you can do that by turn 4 and continue to play Floodborns with the Bucky, then you're able to scoop in there. There was a game, shout out to the cameraman, we were playing actually in Swiss, and he had 6-drop aerial on board, the new steel one, and no cards in hand. I was like that. I'm just gonna wreck this aerial, go on with my day. It's over. Homie top deck the only one. So it happens. It can. Your opponent can get lucky, but I think that's a lot of this game in general. So why not just make them draw the answer? So discarding 1 sudden chill. Everybody knows what this. This is probably the heart of the deck right here. If you get this guy out turn 2, your opponent's probably gonna have a hard time, especially if they're not playing steel, because steel is probably the only card pool that really deals with this efficiently. I know the bell can move a damage, which actually would get rid of it, so the 3-drop bell is also an answer. But by the time you're there, does it matter? You probably don't have a hand already, because this deck usually rips your hand by about turn 4-5. Bucky, so he's just, every time you play a Floodborn, he has Ward, he's a 1/1. If he's at the Cove, he's a 2/2. And having Ward makes him untouchable. And yeah, we play a whole bunch of Floodborns, so your opponent's gonna be discarding off of every card you play, essentially. We do play 1 Baboon. I really think this card could be up to 2. It was very good all day. It helped me in every single match. And I wouldn't be mad if it was at 2, but keeping the deck count where it is, I ran a 65 card deck today and trimmed a couple cards after, but we got to keep it kind of tight. The deck has a lot of tech in it. People are calling me crazy for only running 3 of this card, but I think it's fine. The deck doesn't revolve around Ursula like it used to, and you don't need to always sing your songs with her, because you have Floodborn targets, you have other 3-drops, You're getting most of the time better stuff off. The only time you really want to play this is if you're in an aggro match, or if you want to rip their hand fast and you don't have another way with Bucky. But 9 times out of 10, you play this on 3, and if they get rid of it, it just feels bad. So you want to know what's in their hand before you drop it. That's kind of like the good Ursula line, I feel. Like if you go 2 into 3, you know. Otherwise, sometimes you just play it, you see, and you're like, all right, I'm not going to play this. 3 of the Strength of a Raging Fire. This card is just, you build up a board and you're going to be able to swing that much damage with the song. Not much more to say about the card. It can be sung with a 3-drop, so pretty much everything in the deck. So not much more to be said about that card. Now, this card, I want to just say before anybody has any opinion on it, this is the best card in the game. Call me crazy. It's free to play if you get the situation right. It can come out turn 2, and it's Green's draw engine now, and you draw when your opponent draws. So, I mean, start of the show. This card's insane. Get your copies now. Even if it's $50, this card's probably going to still go up. I could see this card going to 60 at least, just because the card is so good so early, and it needs to have a draw engine for this type of build. So if you don't have a draw engine, last set, in Green, you're stuck with top decking your answers pretty much the entire game. So at that point, this guy just replaces every card. Anytime they draw a card, if they play Rabbit, if they play Maleficent, if they sing Friends, if they draw for turn, it is just insane how much value you get off this card. And there are people main decking so many answers for this card. It just says everything right there. Floodborn, evasive 2/2. If he's at the Cove, he's evasive 3/3. Quest for 1. Draw when he's sideways. It's good.
Cove makes it to where Diablo takes out their Diablos too.
Yeah, Cove can make it so Diablo can take out Diablo. Pegasus can take out Diablo. You can take out minis. I did that today. There's just Cove is I can't shout out Dylan enough for this card. This was overperforming more than a lot of other cards. 2 Benja, you want to just have a little bit of item removal. It's not the craziest thing needed in the deck, but Fishbone Quill's kind of scary. Or if you go first and you take their Popsicle and they don't have anything else, that's pretty good. Usually you just want to get this guy on board as fast as possible against blue, and if they play Flaversham, they just can't. Like, they feel so bad playing that card against you. So, but yeah, Benja, he's there. Everybody knows what he does. Quest for 2, 2/3. If he's at the Cove, he's a 3/4, which is insane. And yeah, just solid stats. Gotta play 4 of this card. Let the Storm Rage on. Being able to double sing it with Ursula. Being able to sing it with Diablo turn 1. Being able to sing it with everything in your deck is an amazing card. The fact that it draws a card is why I play it. It's just too good. Like, ping a damage, draw. It'll be a staple for Steel for the rest of the game. Unless they make something better. Which I don't really foresee them making a better spell than that for free. That draws. Now we're going to get into more of the Floodborn. We play 3 of the Jafar. Jafar is just that turn 4. The deck is kind of lacking a turn 4. You can definitely shift Robin Hood on turn 4 if you have that, but Jafar is usually your main play. And whenever he kills a card, then you can draw. And like I said again, with the Cove, he's a stat line of a 4/5. He's got Tink stats.
Kills bells.
It's crazy. Everybody knows what this card does. We got 3 of the best removal spell in Spiel. Zeus. Paying 5 damage. It's free, usually by turn 3, and you kill things. It's just your way to get rid of big bodies. Like, the deck before we had any steel cards like this, you couldn't even get rid of the Maleficent either. You just were stuck. So Zeus, gotta have that at 3. We got the other, we're going into 5 drops now, we got the other Pegasus for the shift. This guy is actually puts in work, and I think I misplayed a few games because I didn't even remember it gave other things evasive.
When you shift it, you can give shit evasive.
You give it evasive, so I even misplayed, and I forgot that the card gives everything else evasive, so I'm pretty sure I played it on a turn, quested it, and forgot to quest with everything else. But that's okay.
Yeah, you just didn't quest for Bucky.
Yeah, so that's okay. But giving everything evasive and making it so your opponent can't get rid of those cards, really solid, really solid.
Broken.
So wouldn't switch the lineup on this. I think maybe a 3 of the 1 drop and a 3 of this. I like that. It sounds pretty good. Shifting for 3, yeah. Making him discard a card if you got the Bucky. And yeah, good card. 2 Grab Your Swords, probably the most lackluster card of the deck, but you need it. It's one of those things that if they play the Bucky chain on you, or if they have the same deck that they're trying to set up their line, if you can Robin Hood 3 and then just get rid of everything, you're solid. You are solid, my guy. So just 2 of those. 2 of the new Bruno song. This card came in clutch today. This card came in clutch today.
This card with Sudden Chill feels unfair sometimes.
It really does. Like, my people watching me in the finals were watching me use Sudden Chill to get rid of my opponent's last card, seeing the biggest threat on their board, playing this for either 5 or singing it with another target, and then they just have no.
Pegasus.
You can sing it with Pegasus, you can sing it with Robin Hood Shift, you can sing it with Beast and Tinkerbell. So the card is insane. I love it. Inkable is probably why it's really playable. If it wasn't inkable, you probably wouldn't be able to play this card as much. Or you would have to cut like swords for it. But I'm glad they made it like that. So we're getting into the last couple of slots of the deck. And these are just like your staple shifts. I mean, you gotta run all these. So 4 Robin Hood. Everybody knows what Robin Hood does. You get him out turn 1 or 2. If he's at the Cove, play it on 3. He's a 4/7. Quest for 2. You can murder something, and when you give this guy 4 damage, kind of out of pocket. When you give this guy 4 damage and 7 shield, he becomes like Ursula stats. Is kind of the way I'm like. Yeah, like Ursula's crazy. It gets around a lot of other things. The red blue deck has to play like Ice Block now. So. Shout out to Dylan, man. I can't say it enough. This card was insane with every single line of play. And you just get it out turn 1 and nobody hits it. And if they do, then they're taking 3 or 4 turns to get rid of it.
2 minimum.
Yeah, 2 minimum. And that's if you're playing like a solid aggro deck and you see the nuts. So 4 Robin Hood, 4 Beast. This is my favorite steel card. This is my favorite green card. This is my favorite steel card. You wanna know why? They draw cards. And I think that's probably like as a competitive player, like you want the deck that's going to consistently see its pieces. You want the deck that's going to consistently find things. You want the deck that's going to draw a lot. And I didn't play green because they didn't have this card. So now that they do, chef's kiss. Beast, everybody knows what it does. If he has no damage at the start of the turn, you draw 2. So you're just draw engine, draw engine, draw engine, draw engine, or draw engine. Yeah, draw engine, all that. Last card of the deck, 3 Tinkerbell. This card is needed. If you don't have a board wipe for certain things and low to the ground aggro, then you just lose. And getting her out turn 6 is kind of rough, but in the process, you're able to control and get there. So
Solid mid-range deck.
I wouldn't cut Tink. I think that this plus swords is a lot of times one of your board wipe options. The other option you could have is playing the 10-drop song. I just feel like that's a little harder and more situational to get off. So I like this, grab swords, Tink. And yeah, with Cove, she's a 5-6 stat line. So, and Beast being a 4-6. It's just insane. Shout out to Dylan for the Cove once again. Shout out to all my followers. Shout out to all you Lumineers. We won a box today. We got there with green steel. I wanted to save the deck profile. I've been testing it like crazy. And this has been Barber with Beauty and the Barber TCG, and I'm out, guys.